Welcome back to another episode of the Dramatic Bible Reading Podcast. I'm your host, Bert Clemens. Well, today we'll be reading Ezekiel chapter 31 and chapter 32. Pharaoh warned of Assyria's fate. And in chapter 32, grief over Pharaoh and Egypt. Now let's go to the reading. Ezekiel chapter 31. Pharaoh warned of Assyria's fate. In the 11th year, in the 3rd month, on the 1st of the month, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, say to Pharaoh king of Egypt and to his hordes, Whom are you like in your greatness? Behold, Assyria was a cedar in Lebanon, with beautiful branches and full shade, and very high, and its top was among the clouds. The waters made it grow, the deep made it high. With its waters it continually extended all around its planting space, and sent out its channels to all the trees of the field. Therefore its height was loftier than all the trees of the field. And its broth became many, and its branches long because of many waters as it spread them out. All the birds of the sky nested in its twigs, and under its branches all the animals of the field gave birth, and all great nations lived under its shade. So it was beautiful in its greatness, and the length of its branches, for its roots extended to many waters. The cedars of God's garden could not match it. The junipers could not compare with its branches, and the plant trees could not match its branches. No tree in God's garden could compare with it in its beauty. I made it beautiful with the multitude of its branches, and all the trees of Eden, which were in the garden of God, were jealous of it. Therefore this is what the Lord God says, Behold, it is tall in stature, and has put its top among the clouds, and its heart is haughty in its loftiness. I will hand it over to a ruler of the nations. He will thoroughly deal with it. In accordance with its wickedness, I have driven it out. Foreign tyrants of the nations have cut it down and left it. On the mountains and in all the valleys its branches have fallen, and its branches have been broken in all the ravines of the land, and all the people of the earth have gone down from its shade and left it. All the birds of the sky will nest on its fallen trunk, and all the animals of the field will rest on its fallen branches, so that all the trees by the waters will not be exalted in their stature, nor put their tops among the clouds, nor will any of their well-watered mighty ones stand straight in their height, for they have all been turned over to death, to the earth beneath, among mankind, with those who go down to the pit. This is what the Lord God says. On the day when I went down to Sheol, I caused mourning. I closed the deep over it, and held back its rivers, and its many waters were stopped up, and I made Lebanon mourn for it, and all the trees of the field withered away on account of it. I made the nations quake from the sound of its fall when I made it go down to Sheol with those who go down to the pit. And all the well-watered trees of Eden, the choicest and the best of Lebanon, were comforted in the earth beneath. They also went down with it to Sheol to those who were slain by the sword, and those who were its strength lived in its shade among the nations. To which among the trees of Eden are you so alike in glory and greatness? Yet you will be brought down with the trees of Eden to the earth beneath. You will lie in the midst of the uncircumcised, with those who were killed by the sword. This is Pharaoh and all his hordes, declares the Lord God. Chapter 32. Grief over Pharaoh and Egypt. In the 12th year of the 12th month, on the first of the month, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, take up a song of mourning over Pharaoh king of Egypt, and say to him, You compare yourself to a young lion of the nations, yet you are like the monster in the seas, and you burst forth in your rivers, and muddied the waters with your feet, and fouled their rivers. This is what the Lord God says. Now I will spread my net over you with a contingent of many people, and they will lift you up in my net. I will leave you on the land. I will hurl you on the open field, and I will cause all the birds of the sky to nest on you, and I will satisfy the animals of the whole earth with you. I will lay your flesh on the mountains, and fill the valleys with your refuge. I will also make the land drink the discard of your blood, as far as the mountains, and the ravines will be full of you. And when I extinguish you, I will cover the heavens and darken their stars. I will cover the sky with a cloud, and the moon will not give its light. All the shiny lights in the heavens I will darken over you, and will set darkness on your land, declares the Lord God. I will also trouble the hearts of many when I bring your destruction among the nations into the land which you have not known. And I will make many people appalled at you, and their kings will be horribly afraid of you when I banish my sword before them, and they will tremble again and again, every person for his life, on the day of your fall. For the Lord God says this, The sword of the king of Babylon will attack you. By the sword of the warriors I will make your multitude fall. All of them are tyrants of the nations, and they will devastate the pride of Egypt, and all its multitude will be destroyed. I will also eliminate all its cattle from beside many waters, and a human foot will not muddy them anymore, and the hoofs of animals will not muddy them. Then I will make their waters settle, and make their rivers run like oil, declares the Lord God. When I make the land of Egypt a desolation, and the land is destitute of that which filled it, when I strike all those who live in it, then they shall know that I am the Lord. This is a song of mourning, and they shall sing it. The daughters of the nations shall sing it. Over Egypt and over all her whores they shall sing it, declares the Lord God. In the 12th year, on the 15th of the month, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, lament for the hordes of Egypt, and bring it down, her and the daughters of the mighty nations, to the nether world with those who go down to the pit. Whom do you surpass in beauty? Go down and make your bed with the uncircumcised. They shall fall in the midst of those who are killed by the sword. She is turned over to the sword. They have dragged her and all her hordes away. The strong among the mighty ones shall speak of him and his helpers from the midst of Sheol. They have gone down. They lie still, the uncircumcised, killed by the sword. Assyria is there in all her company. Her graves are all around her, all of them killed, fallen by the sword, whose graves are set in the remotest part of the pit, and her company is all around her grave, all them killed, fallen by the sword, who spread terror in the land of the living. Elam is there, and all her hordes around her grave, all of them killed, fallen by the sword, who went down uncircumcised to the lower parts of the earth, who inflicted their terror on the land of the living, and bore their disgrace with those who go down to the pit. They have made a bed for her among the slain with all her hordes. Her graves are around it. They are all uncircumcised. killed by the sword, although their terrors was inflicted on the land of the living, and they bore their disgrace with those who go down to the pit. They were put in the midst of the slain. Meshach, Tubal, and all their hordes are there. Their graves surround them. All of them were killed by the sword, uncircumcised, though they inflicted their terror on the land of the living. Nor do they lie beside the fallen heroes of the uncircumcised, who went down to Sheol with their weapons of war, and whose swords were placed under their hearts. But the punishment for their wrongdoing rested on their bones, though the terror of their heroes was once in the land of the living. But in the midst of the uncircumcised, you will be broken and lie with those killed by the sword. There also is Eden, its kings and all its princes, who despise all their might, are laid with those killed by the sword. They will lie with the uncircumcised and with those who go down to the pit. There also are the chiefs of the north, all of them, and all the Sidonians, who, in spite of the terror resulting from their might, in shame went down with the slain. So they laid down uncircumcised with those killed by the sword, and bore their disgrace with those who go down to the pit. These Pharaoh will see, and he will find consolation regarding all his hordes killed by the sword, Pharaoh and all his army, declares the Lord God. Therefore, though I inflict the terror of him on the land of the living, yet he will be laid to rest among the uncircumcised, along with those killed by the sword, Pharaoh and all his hordes, declares the Lord God. And that is the end of Ezekiel, chapter 31 and chapter 32. Well, that concludes this episode of the Dramatic Bible Reading Podcast. Don't forget, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of the Lord. Until next time, I'm your host, Bert Clemens.